Hey there, this is Emma Kong. Today we are going to talk about the four great inventions of ancient China. On January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone at the Macworld Conference in San Francisco. It was a historical day, a day that changed the world. Steve didn't just launch a new phone, he changed technology, society, and the way we live. He ushered in the era of mobile internet. Over the past 2,000 years, human history has witnessed many revolutionary moments like this. Moments that redefined how we communicate, navigate, learn, and even fight wars. Now, let's go back in time and start with the invention of papermaking. Before the invention of papermaking, different civilizations had their own ways of recording information. The Mesopotamians wrote on clay tablets. The ancient Greeks and Romans used parchment made from animal skins. The Egyptians relied on papyrus, or carved texts directly onto the walls of pyramids and temples. And in ancient India, people inscribed writings onto palm leaves. In ancient China, characters were recorded on turtle shells, animal bones, bamboo slips, or silk fabric. These materials were often expensive, time-consuming to produce, and difficult to preserve, which greatly limited the transmission of knowledge and the development of civilization. In the 2nd century BC, during the Western Han Dynasty, China invented the earliest form of paper made from natural plant fibers. This early paper had a very rough surface and was only suitable for simple writing or drawing. This is currently the earliest known paper map discovered in China. It was unearthed from a Han Dynasty tomb in Gansu province and shows that paper was already being used during the Western Han period for basic graphic or written documentation. In 105 CE, Cai Lun, a court official of the Eastern Han Dynasty, made significant improvements to the existing papermaking techniques and presented the new paper to the emperor. His method used cheap and readily available materials such as tree bark, old cloth, hemp waste, and worn fishing nets, drastically reducing the cost of production. The resulting paper was lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to write on, making it far more practical than bamboo slips or silk. Cai Lun's innovation is considered a milestone in technological history. It gradually spread throughout China and had a profound impact on cultural transmission and the development of education. Starting from the 8th century, the papermaking technique spread to the Arab world, and from there, through Arab trade routes, it reached the Middle East, North Africa, and eventually Europe. Spain and Italy were among the first European countries to develop paper industries, with Venice and Milan becoming major centers of paper production. By the 14th century, papermaking had spread to France, Germany, and other parts of Europe. With the onset of the Age of Exploration, the technique eventually reached the Americas between the 15th and 17th centuries. By then, papermaking had become a global technology, profoundly influencing the spread of knowledge and culture around the world. With the invention of papermaking, people naturally started to ask, how can we reproduce text more efficiently? That's where printing comes in. During the Tang Dynasty in 9th century China, craftsmen invented woodblock printing. They would first write the text on paper, paste it in reverse onto a wooden block, then carefully carve the characters into the wood. After applying ink, they pressed paper onto the block to produce printed pages. This is the world's earliest known printed book, with an exact date: the Diamond Sutra, a Buddhist scripture produced in 868 CE during the Tang Dynasty, using woodblock printing. It is currently preserved in the British Library in London. In the 11th century, a Chinese craftsman named Sheng from the Song Dynasty invented a more advanced printing technology called movable type printing. He carved individual characters onto small clay blocks, which could be arranged and rearranged to form different texts. These reusable types greatly improved printing efficiency and significantly lowered production costs. Chinese printing technology gradually spread westward through the Silk Road and trade with the Arab world, eventually reaching Europe. By the late 14th century, woodblock printing had begun to appear in certain parts of Europe. In the mid-15th century, Johannes Gutenberg, a German inventor, created the world's first practical metal movable type printing press. His most famous work, the Gutenberg Bible, was the first complete Bible printed using movable type, and is widely regarded as the starting point of the European printing revolution. A revolutionary leap in the way knowledge was produced, preserved, and shared across the world. From the world of ideas and knowledge, we now shift to the world of power and warfare. The next invention revolutionized how wars were fought is the gunpowder. In the 9th century, during the Tang Dynasty, while searching for an elixir of immortality, Chinese alchemists accidentally mixed sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal, discovering a highly flammable and explosive substance. This mixture later became known as gunpowder, marking the earliest known chemical explosive in human history. Ancient alchemical texts from the Tang era recorded that when these ingredients were combined in certain proportions and ignited, the resulting flame could explode with great force, powerful enough to burn down houses from a distance. After the Tang Dynasty, the next Chinese dynasty, the Song Dynasty, began to develop and deploy early gunpowder weapons. This included arrows fitted with bamboo tubes filled with gunpowder, bombs that released toxic smoke to poison enemy soldiers, and explosive devices packed with metal shards designed to stop advancing infantry and cavalry. These technologies were later learned and adopted by the Mongol armies during their invasions of the Song Dynasty. Through the Mongol Empire's military campaigns across Asia and Europe, gunpowder weapons were spread to Central Asia and the Middle East. In the 13th century, during the Mongol invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire, gunpowder weapons were reportedly used in battle for the first time in Central Asia. Around the same time, in the Battle of Legnica against Poland and Hungary, the deafening explosions and the destructive power of these weapons gave many Europeans their first glimpse of this advanced military technology. As Arab forces faced the Mongol armies, they acquired knowledge of gunpowder, and through translations of Chinese military texts, began to refine the formulas and improve the technology. Arab armies later used firearms and cannons in their own conflicts, such as during the 14th century siege of Tortosa in Spain. Meanwhile, Europeans also learned the secrets of gunpowder manufacture through warfare and contact. By the late 14th century, guns and cannons had become widely used on European battlefields. The spread of gunpowder technology dramatically transformed warfare, politics, and society in both the Middle East and Europe. It had become known as a weapon that helped destroy the old feudal order, paving the way for centralized states and a new era in world history. The stone castles of nobles and feudal lords began to lose their defensive effectiveness in the face of powerful cannons. The most famous example was the fall of Constantinople, the capital of the 1,000-year-old Byzantine Empire, which was conquered by the Ottoman Empire using massive siege cannons. As a result, nobles and lords lost their traditional military advantage in defense, and gradually came under the authority of monarchs who controlled centralized gunpowder armies. Traditional heavily armored cavalry suffered heavy losses when facing new formations of infantry armed with firearms, who stood in ranks and fired volleys in unison. As a result, armies began to shift toward being dominated by musketeers and artillery units, which in turn led to the rise of professional standing armies that required long-term training and centralized command. Starting in the 15th century, Europeans began mounting cannons on their sailing ships, giving rise to heavily armed naval fleets. During the Age of Exploration, these naval powers, especially Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, and later Britain and France, gained a decisive advantage over many traditional fleets and coastal powers in Asia, Africa, and the Americas. With superior firepower and maritime technology, they established colonial empires and trading posts across much of the world, fundamentally reshaping global history. Gunpowder spread from ancient China through the Mongol Empire and the Arab world into Europe, where it played a crucial role in helping monarchs suppress rebellious nobles. It became a key driver of military modernization, centralized authority, and global expansion in Europe, and is considered one of the most important technologies behind the formation of the modern world system. It can be said that gunpowder, which originated in the East, ultimately triggered a global military and political revolution that profoundly reshaped the course in human history. If gunpowder brought power and destruction, the compass brought direction and discovery. In the 4th century BC, China invented the earliest known compass. Craftsmen polished a piece of natural lodestone into the shape of a spoon and placed it on a smooth bronze or wooden plate. This spoon-shaped lodestone could freely rotate on the plate, with its handle always pointing south. This early form of the compass was primarily used for geographical surveying and military planning, and not yet applied to maritime navigation. In the 12th century, Chinese texts from the Song dynasty recorded that merchant ships could navigate by observing the stars at night and the sun during the day, but relied on the compass during cloudy weather. This shows that by that time, the compass had already been widely used for maritime navigation. The compass had also been improved. Natural lodestone was replaced by magnetized iron needles, which were placed on a plate marked with directional indicators. Arab texts from the 13th century contain references to the compass, suggesting that it may have been introduced to the Islamic world through the Silk Road or trade routes across Central Asia. In the 14th century, Europeans developed a marine compass specifically designed for navigation at sea, one that could remain stable even on ships swaying with the waves. It became an essential tool for explorers such as Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan, helping to open up the Atlantic and Pacific sea routes. The invention played a crucial role in driving global exploration and colonial expansion. The opening of new sea routes marked the beginning of global trade, contributed to the rise of Europe, and ultimately shifted the world's economic and political centers. The invention of the compass enabled humanity to cross vast oceans, explore unknown lands, and ultimately connect people across the globe. It became one of the core tools of the age of exploration. The compass transformed global trade, scientific discovery, and human communication. Another world-changing invention from China. From ink on ancient paper to code on modern screens, innovation never stops. The Four Great Inventions of ancient China remind us that one idea can shape the future. Today, technology is evolving faster than ever, with breakthroughs like artificial intelligence and digital currencies. Just like the compass once guided explorers across unknown oceans, these new tools might lead us into the next great global transformation. Are you ready for what's coming next?